Hi, Ryu here. Today we're going to cover how to travel, server travel, and also take the values with you when you do so. So let's first show you the end result of this whole thing. Here we go. Okay, I'm connected to my laptop now, and the client is gonna pick up a gun, shoot one, reload, shoot one again, throw a few grenades. And that should carry with us when I press L on my laptop, as in open level. It will take a bit. As you can see, it traveled with the current ammo, ammo in reserve, and the grenades, and HP as well. I just didn't get damaged. But everything is there as it should be. And of course, as usual, if it works on the client, definitely works on the server. That was the main issue why it took so long, to be honest, just to test it right. So, where to start? I would say start with making a save game, call it SG temp save, and have these values inside. So it's an array of weapon base, class, um, two floats of HP current and HP max, two integers of grenades current and max, and two array integers of ammo current and ammo in reserve. I placed that in the system. There it is. And I will provide these files too. I work with 427 here in this example, and this is an older project, so maybe your character base was updated or something, but we will cover all the blueprints anyway. So, yeah, first make that save game, recreate all of this, and the values, and that is it for that part. Now go to your game state, and here we will have this part. So first you want to create a custom event and execute on all. Get all the player arrays for each loop, character, the private pawn of character base, and save my character for travel. That is a custom event that we need to create first. See, I should have started with the character base maybe, but there's a lot more work in character base. So actually, for now, just create these two custom events and come back to this later. But let's go to the character. So in the event graph, this is new, and the set default variable that is over here has some changes. As you can see, here's the game state that we're calling to travel to this map. This is just a way for you to test the client in editor. It is a bit clunky. I will show you a way how you can test the client's weapon loading and whatnot, but you have to do it manually. You cannot do the server travel inside of Unreal Engine. You have to package it. So let's start. I chose L. You can have this as an event or some kind of quest or some kind of collision. When you overlap it, this happens, but I'm just using a key press. So basically when you press L and you're the server, engage into this travel. Now this is called from the game state. What it does is basically travel to this, blah 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 blah, execute command. But before it does that, you have to do this. This travel command goes to travel save multicast, and that is this part. So basically, anyone on the map, save your character for yourself. Basically a local save file, pretty much. You're making a local save file of the current character state. And it is here where you do the usual does save game exist. If it doesn't exist, create save game, save to that save game slot, load from game slot. I named them all SG temp save just to avoid confusion or what to write where. Then you cast to the save game. I know save game and save slot, you could have different names, but never mind now. And then you drag the values that we assigned. So you drag out saved UT inventory, ammo, and reserve ammo, clear those arrays. And then from your character's inventory, this is here, this one, we cycle through it. So all the weapons in the inventory, get me their class and add them to the saved UT inventory. Basically, we're saving the classes of our inventory into this, together with its current ammo of that weapon at that index, and ammo in reserve, and save them in these two. So basically, if this finds at index 0 your rifle, this will save at index 0 your rifle's ammo current, and this will save at index 0 your ammo in reserve, which you will load later on, so it doesn't come to confusions. And after that is done, then we set the values like saved current grenades. You just pull out the character stats here, grenades current, set them inside of the save game, and for max and for HP current and for HP max do the same thing. And save to game slot. As I told you, don't have to use this slot name. I just found this to be the least confusing thing to do in this scenario. So I would say that's pretty much the first thing you should do. This Chungus boy here, recreate that. Now the second part is at the set default variable. So basically it's up here at the beginning. This, you just double click it and it will open this. Now SB's standard one starts, I think the HP is set before this sequence. So just cut it out from there and put it at the end here. So what we're doing is for this tutorial, for this I would say scenario here that we have, check if this is the first map, the replicated map where the game starts. If that's the case, delete any save game that was there by any time, and just set the default values and continue on with giving starting weapon. So you can totally disconnect this or do something else with it. I don't know. This is just return to default logic of the TPS kit. On the other hand, if it is not replicated map, in my case that would be replicated map 1, then do this logic. Give it a second, because it sometimes takes for the client to load up, and you wouldn't believe how much time this took to figure out. Basically, you need to give it some time to properly load the character in and assign its controller. After it does that, look if it's locally controlled. Does a save game exist? If it doesn't, this should never pop up, but just in case, the only time I could imagine this, if while you're playing the game you delete the save game, then you would get a fatal error, I think. But yeah, this is just a precaution. If it does exist, as it should, because then again we saved when we traveled. Before we traveled, we actually saved the game. So there should be, when you reach this point, there should be a slot to load. Then cast to the temp save and get all the values out. You can best, instead of going one by one, just drag all of the values that you made. You have to drag them out anyway. So just get them from the save game. Get all these. And then clear the inventory just in case something happened in that 1 second before you started loading this. Clear the inventory and do N. Now, initially I went with a for loop, but as you can imagine with this delay, doing this server client thingy, you will need delays. It doesn't, it has to have this little delay for the server to tell the client what's happening. Maybe a shorter delay, I don't know. Maybe this can be shorter, but basically you can play around with these until you find something that you're satisfied with. I found that 0.1 works perfectly here. So what we're going through is get the length of the saved inventory, so how many items are there. You will circle through it this many times. The counter, why -1? Because it starts at 1. So -1 is 0, right? And then you have to subtract from the length also 1, because last index is not the same as length, and I didn't want to bother with last index, so I just went with length. And now we're getting the saved UT inventory class at the index, which is counter. In this case, if we have 2 weapons, it would be 0 and 1. So when it does the 1, it will go again, and it will, if it does the 0, it will go again, do the 1, and so on and so on. In this example, I think I have even limited the amount of weapons you can have to 2. So, yeah, cast to controller, get controller, target is spawn, obviously. Then we have to spawn weapon and ammo. Now this has to be done on the server. In order for it to work properly, you have to make another costume event. Drag all of these values out. All of this has to look the same way as it looks here. So make sure that these are weapon base, vector, BP character base, integer, and player controller. So now that we have that covered, we spawn an actor, we connect up the pins that we need here. Then from that actor, you drag out ammo current. If this does not pop out from here, something is wrong with this. Your class is not good. This class has to be weapons in order for this node to recognize, oh, okay, this is a class from the weapon base. And then you can drag out these values from here. And just drag out all of this stuff. And at the end, interact MP server. And you connect it to the controller reference, which you plugged in here. You got the ammo from the saved ammo current and reserve. You got the spawn transfer from your mesh. You got the owner from yourself. And then delay 0.1 second. And here if it's 1 and the length would be 2. So -1, that would be equal, and if it's equal, then save the rest of the values that are not tied to weapons, like grenades, health, and whatnot. Okay, we got those covered, and basically that is it. It's just one more thing. If you want to test out this client side, server will obviously work, but when you want to test player's client, you have to do the following. What you have to do is open up the replicated map. Save. Play in editor and pick up a weapon. Shoot, reload, shoot, throw a few grenades, just test it out. And since it's all connected there, our L letter will create a save file for us. The problem is now it will not travel. It just created a save file for you to test out. So now if you open up the replicated map, and there is no other way for clients to test this. So open up the replicated map 1, and the logic should immediately go to loading, because we set it up in the default variables here. So now it will recognize, oh, okay, it's not replicated map, it's replicated map 1. So I will, by default, start loading stuff, if it exists. If not, I will create something. And if you just open up this map without saving previously on this map, it will just load the default values you put in the save file. So if you leave everything at 0, everything will be at 0. So now it should load up properly. 999. Yep, 2 grenades left. There you see, that's on the client. The server doesn't need it, it will just travel ahead. This is just for testing on the client. And as with many things, if it works on the client, usually it works on the server as well. Alright, I might have gone a bit fast in this tutorial video because I've been working a long time on this, and yeah, we're done. If you have any questions, or if you can't open up the blueprints, message me or SB, and we might be able to help you more with this. I know if you're a beginner, this probably looks like something super complicated. It's only complicated while you're trying to find the solution. Once you find it, it's not that hard. This might look a bit messy, but trust me, this was clean. This is clean compared to what it was just an hour before. Alright, thank you for watching, and I hope this works for you, and enjoy.